executive. We also have Anita, who is the not director of member services, director of membership education. Sorry, it's been a long day. And then we have Lena, who is the vice president of member services on the call. So we are recording this meeting, so this will be available. But if there's anyone from your chapter who wasn't able to call in, we also have another session this upcoming Sunday from 6 to 7. So that's Eastern. So if they don't have an invite, just send me an email and I can add them to the list. But I'm pretty sure I invited all presidents and then like all VP of membership or member education officers, whatever the title is within your chapter. So so we're gonna get started. We're not gonna do anything like real heavy content review tonight. There have been some changes, like updates to content, but it's really more like surface level changes. So you'll be able to pick up on that as long as you review the slides and stuff ahead of time. So we won't do a whole lot of content heavy review. I'm going to show you how to access everything because we have it in a new spot now. If you do have slides or handouts or whatever that were nationally provided that you're using from previous years, I would recommend replacing them with what I'm going to show you today because we did make some changes. But if there's special things you use within your chapter, you can keep those. And then we'll have some time for questions. So we won't go through a ton of content, but obviously if you have content questions, Anita is our expert, so she can answer any of those questions for you tonight. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to start by looking at how to access the membership education materials. And Lena, can you see this? Can you see my portal?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So we're in my portal account, which probably looks pretty different from your portal accounts, but it's still going to be the same general process. So when you log into portal, you'll see this is the home screen up here. So if you click the Phi Sigma Rho, like the logo up here, this will take you home. And you'll have some variation of these tiles here that you can access. So what we're going to do is take a look at the resources here. So if you have accessed the resources tile on portal before, maybe you've accessed it to download the Constitution, bylaws, and policies, any of the branding and marketing stuff's in here. So we're going to look here at this tile called chapter resources. One thing I want to note, there is this tile called chapter resources, and then there's a separate tab that is specific to your chapter's resources that is also called chapter resources. This is the one you want to access. So you'll access it the exact way that I'm doing it now, not through your chapter resources. Those contain like your chapter's bylaws and anything specific to your chapter. So this will not show up there. So you're going to next click chapter resources. So when you first go in here, we have the end of term slide template, just some kind of like general handouts and stuff. Some of these are outdated. The new chapter handbook is in here as well. And so in order to access membership education materials, I'm sorry, this is not super obvious. We're working on updating that. So this may look a little bit different, in this upcoming semester, but to access membership education materials, you're going to go to this drop-down menu up here and you'll select membership education. This is also in the works. It's not super pretty, but I'm going to include a guide in here that you can download to keep track of everything that you will use from week to week. So this is literally just every piece of membership education, like presentation, handout, whatever. This is all just slapped in here. And I thought I could create separate folders for everything, but apparently that is a limitation within Portal. So unfortunately I can't, but I'll have a separate guide that I'll type up in here that says start here, and it'll have a layout of the names of all of the documents and or presentations that you're going to use for each week. So you can click through here, you'll see like week 1, week 2, week 3, and it goes all the way to week 6. Do not get confused by the fact that they're called week 1, week 2, week 3. I know some people spread their membership education out across 8 weeks. Some people condense it to 5 weeks. We aren't going to be keeping track of like when in your membership education process you're downloading these documents. If you want to do week 1 and 2 in the same session, like that's okay. It doesn't matter. This is just the easiest visual for downloading purposes. So each week is structured a little bit differently. So I'm going to go to this Google Drive because you can see the outline a little bit better, but you will not have access to the Google Drive. You will just access through Portal. So we can see the week 1 materials here. So we have the presentation, which is there's a presentation for every single week. We have it both in PowerPoint and in PDF format. So if you want to send the presentation to your membership ahead of time, some of these have some editable text in here. So note that the PDF doesn't contain your edits. So you may have to just save the PowerPoint as a PDF yourself, but we put that in there just to save you some time if that's what you want to do. The first couple of weeks have icebreaker activities. You don't have to use these icebreakers. These are just ideas that we came up with. So those are available to you. Each week has a Word document that is the instruction outline, I think is what I called it in Portal, which I'll open this one here. The instruction outline, it shows you basically every topic you're going to talk about for each of the lessons. So it's basically an outline. So just kind of follow this, and these follow the presentations as well. There's also some handouts in the document. So I did label them handouts in Portal. So like for week 1 here, you see we have the pin attire document that talks about how to dress to pin. And we also have the insignia and trademark guidelines. That is another handout. People ask if they have to print these out. You don't have to. You can email those or share those with your members. If you choose to print them out, that's fine. If they choose to print them out, that's fine. But just so you're aware, you don't have to. However you want to distribute this is fine. And then the last thing is each week we have a Word document that talks about the modules, and it gives some instructions on a timeline to complete the modules. This is a suggested timeline. So also another thing to note is that with all the chapters, we don't know the exact timeline of your membership education, and we don't need to know that, other than we know it fits within the 5 to 8 week required time period. But from week to week, if you don't feel like between week 1 and 2, it's an appropriate time for your candidates to start modules, that's totally fine. The modules are meant to be asynchronous. So if they want to do all of them 5 days before initiation, that's fine. If they want to do all of them before the first week session, that's fine. It doesn't matter. They just have to be completed prior to initiation. So we put these module documents in here and they do say like candidates should complete this before module 2, but we're not going in and checking every single week to make sure that your candidates have. You have the ability to do that. You can request that we send you completion reports for your members, but we aren't going to track it from week to week. So I hope that clarifies that is not a requirement to follow that timeline. And then the week 2, all these documents are in here as well. Looks very similar. You'll see some weeks like week 5 there's no handouts included. So this is a lot shorter. And so if I go back to Portal, you'll see they're kind of labeled week 1 through 6. So I'll make a list that shows you like in week 1, these are the documents you need to download, hopefully to make it a little bit easier in Portal, but I'm working on a different organization tool for this section of Portal. So hopefully that'll look a little bit prettier here soon too. So everything's on there. We got rid of the Google Drive, so you won't be able to access that. If that's in your transition documents, please update that and let them know, let your future officers know that we've transitioned to Portal. Often when we move resources like this, we'll get random emails like 3 years later asking where the Google Drive is. So just do yourselves a favor and update your transition documents now, so that you keep it easy for future officers. So that's everything for the membership education materials. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. No content related questions. Let's save those for the end. But are there any questions about accessing the membership education materials through Portal? And feel free to unmute or chat your questions. Okay. Lena, if anything pops up in the chat, let me know and I will answer that. But I'm going to keep trekking here. So the next thing I want to talk about, which is just a real brief conversation, is Greekbill. And I know that there are some chapters on here that do not use Greekbill. If you don't use it, you don't have to onboard your new members. So you can forget about this. If you are a prospective chapter, or if you are a chapter who's in a rebuild process, you are also not expected to onboard your members into Greekbill. So that's something that we'll do in the future. So you can ignore what I'm about to say. I'm pretty sure everyone on this call, though, has, if you're going to be using it, has onboarded Greekbill at some point. We are very limited at headquarters with what we're able to see and help you with on Greekbill's terms. They handle all of the onboarding and all of the technical questions and everything on their end. So what I wanted to say about Greekbill is if you have any candidates who are onboarding, who are having a hard time onboarding, to contact our, I don't remember what his like official title is, but it's like our client success manager. His name's Kent Woody. And there should be a picture of him and his email on your Greekbill accounts. I can't see them, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But his contact information is in the latest weekly emails. So that information will go out. Previously, you may have connected with Kaylee, or you may have heard of Kaylee's name. She's not there anymore, so we have to go through Kent. Additionally, this may be your chapter's choice that you do not onboard candidates into Greekbill until they are initiated. I had some questions about that last semester. If you're feeling like this is too overwhelming for them and you'd like to collect dues some other way for this first term when they're candidates, that's 100% fine. And you don't have to ask for our permission. Greekbill may check in and say, hey, we see you brought in new members but didn't onboard them to Greekbill. Just let them know, like, we will onboard them when they are actives. And that's just kind of how your chapter operates, and that's fine. But I just wanted to let you all know that that's not a requirement from our end. Any questions about Greekbill on specifically like onboarding candidates? Do we have to manually onboard them? We've added candidates to the portal and they automatically show up in Greekbill. So they may show up on your end. In terms of setting up their own accounts, though, I guess is what I'm referring to. So like getting their profiles set up and like their banking and all that attached, or their card numbers attached to the account. I'm not going to lie, I'm not 100% sure on the onboarding process, but they should automatically show up in your Greekbill portal from like the admin side of things, because that's directly tied to our database. So as soon as you add them in the recruitment tab, and I think they have to sign the forms, the member agreement and the risk management agreement forms, and they get set up in their portal. As soon as that happens, it'll automatically pull them into your Greekbill account. So they may show up on your end, but in terms of getting their account set up, I don't know how automatic that process is. You all would probably know that better than I would, but I know there were some chapters that were just saying we don't want to use it for candidates. So I don't think there's any additional manual onboarding other than like making sure they know how to use it, which you are welcome to just forward them like the training videos that you guys did or whatever works best for you. Does that answer your question, Lauren? Cool. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to touch on is the Plaid modules, the online modules. And I'm going to show you a document that is not currently up on Portal. I'm going to get it up on Portal right after this call. But I'm going to share my screen again. So this is just a Word document. This is from Plaid. And this walks through, I'm not going to go through it like word for word, but this walks through instructions on how to access the LMS specifically for us. So I know that historically there's been a lot of issues with getting candidates onboarded with Plaid. From my understanding, and I'm not saying this is like 100%, most of the time when candidates are struggling to onboard to Plaid, it's some sort of mistake that they're making in setting up their account or some sort of user error in general. So I'm hoping these instructions are specific enough to kind of help alleviate some of those issues. That being said, Plaid is Plaid's technology. Technology does not work 100% of the time. And so they do have some, obviously technical help options, but these should be the steps that you should follow to have their account set up. They do recommend using Google Chrome. Safari, I know, caused like maybe 30 to 40 candidates last semester to have a hard time accessing. As soon as we moved to Google Chrome or Firefox, everything was working fine. And then I think that was pretty much it. But you basically all already have a Portal account, so you're just setting up a new account on the Plaid LMS. And then to access Plaid, you can see in this, let me zoom this in this screenshot here, this is that like original tile box that everyone sees when they log into Portal. Again, some of these tiles might not be here for all of you, and they definitely won't all be there for your candidates, but there is a tile that says Plaid. That's how they're going to access it. So I'm hoping this alleviates any issues. Changes from the past, I can no longer help with Plaid issues. So if there's any technical issues or there is a candidate that can't log in, previously I had a lot of people emailing me directly asking for help, and then I would contact Plaid on your behalf. They do not allow that anymore. And so there is a contact support button here in this document. Additionally, we'll send that link out in the weekly email, not this upcoming Monday, most likely, but any future emails after this upcoming Monday will have the contact support tab every single week in there. So if there's any Plaid issues, you can go through support. They have a much more robust support team now, so their turnaround time is usually like 24 hours to respond or to have, some sort of correction. But one thing that I really highly recommend is that you're staying on top of making sure they're getting these completed, because a lot of times most of the technical support issues are happening when somebody's trying to log in 2-3 days before initiation. And at that point, we're kind of at the mercy of their support team. So if they aren't able to come up with a solution before initiation, then, they haven't met the requirements for initiation, unfortunately. So please stay on top of that and their completion statuses. I did want to talk about that as well. So some of the
Caitlin, there is a question, by the way.
Oh. So Alex, all of this is required. So all of the materials that I showed is required, and then the Plaid modules are required as well. And so the only thing that isn't required of this is necessarily like the timeline that we have them laid out in, but everything else is required from the membership education side of things, from everything I'm showing.
Sorry, Caitlin, I think I can piggyback off of what I was saying. I thought I heard you say that some items were optional and some were mandatory, and I think we're trying to figure out of like what all is optional, what all is mandatory, so that we're making sure we're having issues, so we want to make sure we're focused on like what's 100% required.
Right. So we maybe can talk a little bit more offline about it, but I know from your standpoint, like none of your members are going to be using Greek Bill. The way you all will conduct membership education is to log into your portal, to access the documents from week to week, to provide the handouts, to give the presentations, and then to just make sure that they're going through the Plaid modules. That's really the only requirement of membership education. So there's nothing like, yeah. So we can talk more offline if you have more specific questions for sure, but I know for sure you all will not be using Greek Bill, so you don't even have to worry about that. Rachel, should the Plaid tile automatically be on the candidate's homepage, or do they have to complete the new member agreement first? So great question, Rachel. So after you enter your candidates into the recruitment tab, and if you're a prospective chapter or if you're a chapter that is in a rebuild, then you will not be doing this. I will be doing this. I will be entering your members for you. But every other active chapter should be putting their own new members in the recruitment tab and hitting that report button to send them off. Entering the candidates in and then leaving it does not do anything. So you have to hit that report button. When you hit the report button, that sends some sort of signal, and I'm going to butcher this because I'm not a computer person, but sends some sort of signal to our database, uploads all those individuals' names and emails to our database, and then that sparks some sort of trigger to send an email to set up their portal accounts to the email that you provided. If a candidate isn't getting an email to set up their portal account, there's probably an error in the email when it was entered, and we can fix that. So that's not a concern. When they first log into their portal accounts, they should not be able to access anything on portal without signing the member agreement and the risk management agreement form. This looks a little bit different from how you all signed these forms previously. You just typed everything in. This document will pop up as it kind of looks like a PDF, and they'll scroll down and they actually, like with their mouse pad, will sign their name. And so they should not be able to proceed to any part of portal before they sign these forms. Once they proceed into portal, though, the Plaid tile will automatically be there. It shows up for anyone that has the status of candidate or the status of president. And presidents can use it to access completion report data for their candidates, which I'll talk about in 1 second. Oh yeah, Lauren, thank you for answering that. But yes, they do have to sign those forms. And then to touch on the reports. So presidents, I know in the past semester, there were some of you were having a hard time accessing Plaid to run reports. If that's the case, please submit a support ticket to Plaid so they can take a look. But if this is something that you need urgently, I have the ability to run all of those completion reports on my end. So please submit the support ticket to Plaid first, but then you're welcome to follow up with me in an email and I can send you your report for that point in time. But you should be able to access it by yourself. Okay. That is all I have for accessing everything. Does anyone, other than keep the content questions, hold on to your content questions for a second. Does anyone have any questions about accessing any of the materials? I'll give it a minute before I move on, and then I'll open it up for content questions. Okay. So if anyone has any content related questions that they want to enter in, feel free to do that. Enter in the chat or just feel free to unmute. Okay. Well, that's all we have then. If there aren't any questions, we won't keep y'all. So you are welcome to hop off. If you are from a chapter rebuild or a prospective chapter and you want to hang on and talk a little bit more in depth, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, everyone else is welcome to hop off. Thank you for joining us. And if any questions do come up, Anita is your number one. What's your email, Anita?
It is. Here, I can put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So send an email to Anita. If there's any portal questions, send them my way and I can help you troubleshoot. And between the two of us, we can solve anything, hopefully. And then Rachel, yes, we can upload the recording. I don't know, Lena, what do you think is the best? We'll include the recording in the weekly email.
Yeah, we can do that. I was thinking we could upload it to the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, we'll do that as
Right,
well.
yeah.
We'll have it, we'll have it unlisted on YouTube and then we'll put the link in the weekly emails so that you can access that at any point. So thanks all.
I can stop recording, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.